All right, so I'm back. I'll tell you another one. This is more cathartic for me, but it's also kind of a cool thing. Yeah, it's a moment of pride, which, you know, a point of pride, whatever. I mean, had a sermon on Easter about pride. Maybe why I'm going through some of the stuff I'm going through right now is because I took my eyes off the cross, taking a little too much credit, patting myself on the back a little bit too much. So, anyways, but this is one. It's a big one. All right. Well, this was in. Oh God, I think it was in right before Thanksgiving of 2021. It was right before Thanksgiving. Get a call from Hotel Marriott. And this is a hotel that's nearby. It's called the airport. I think it's considered airport hotel. So it's one that's nearby our airport, our commercial airport. Somebody had called in because they smelled gas inside the building. And it was big enough that the gas company shut all the gas off to the building. They had to everything. So this is a fairly big place. They did have a bar. I don't really know if they had a kitchen, a laundry, all the individual rooms had the heaters, but the hot water, there was no hot water. All this stuff was without anything, and it was the week before the week of Thanksgiving. So it was they first called us out Wednesday before that week, and we ended up taking on the job the following day. So it was a Thursday, and so we had to get their gas restored as quick as possible, and it was a huge place. And one of the things that happens whenever you have to do a gas test is you have to test it over, let's say, for just a residential house. So most house, and not just that, most the average gas appliance requires between 4 and 11 inches of water column, which is basically the weight of a column of water. So it would be the pressure associated with between 4 inches and between 11 inches of a column of water, and that's a basic gas pressure. So we have to test in Oklahoma City for 15 pounds, and it's got to hold for at least 15 minutes. I think in a lot of places the code reads it has to be half the gauge pressure. I'm not really sure. I think maybe some is like, I'd heard like if you had a 15-pound gauge, you could do it for 7.5 pounds. You don't really find 15 pound, maybe. They're all 30-pound, 100-pound test gauges for plumbing. So basically it's 15 pounds for 15 minutes. We generally put it about 20-25 pounds, that sort of thing. Of course, if it drops any within that 15 minutes, or really within 30 minutes, that you have a leak somewhere. So really kind of got to fix it, even if it's more. But as far as the test goes, with the city, the inspector goes out there to look at the gauge. What he's going to do is he's going to walk up on the gauge. He's going to let a little bit of air on it just to make sure the gauge isn't rigged, and then he's going to look at what time it is. He's going to walk away, and then he's going to come back and he's going to see if it drops. And if it drops at all, you're going to fail it. You got to go back out. So you can have very small leaks on the system that don't show up until you test it. So this is some of what goes on in a building this large. It gets fed by 4-inch steel pipe, and it goes from one end of the building to the other. It comes through the inside, goes up on the roof, drops down. There's some separate buildings that's actually separated. Maybe there's an annex between them or something. But so just a tremendous amount of potential for leaks. So it's a lot of people. So what we ended up doing, I think we had 3 or 4 people on it throughout the day, but then we got a lot of them done and ended up we found a buried line that went from one building to another, so we ended up having to replace that, and so we did that on Saturday. Anyways, Lakeshore Plumbing had, I think we had 7 guys. We had 7 trucks out on that job, all with Lakeshore Plumbing's, pictures and stuff on it. It's really cool to see that as somebody who built this thing up. I think the total amount of money we spent, well, let's just go into that. So we did a tremendous amount of work all through the weekend. We actually had their gas restored and had every last gas appliance fired up and working by 5 o'clock Monday evening. So they were able to operate from that point on with full facilities all up through, we got it done before Thanksgiving. So they were able to fill rooms and do all these things during what I'm sure is a very, very, very busy time of year for them to make money. So we did that. And I mean, I don't know. I think it was a pretty cool thing to do. I think it was a pretty cool thing for us to do. We made that happen. Marriott. Well, they hired another company to do their maintenance called Ambridge. I think it was Ambridge. So there were 2 separate invoices. The first one was like for 17 and the other one was for like 5, I think. Well, the first one we sent in for like $17,000 was the first one we sent in. The second one we sent in was 5. Didn't really get paid immediately on it, so we, contacted them. They said they'd get us a check out. First check we got was for the second invoice, which was the $5,000 invoice. So we did not get, we got paid $5,000 out of 2022. It took at least 3 months to get the rest of that money. At least, it felt like the people that we had dealt with at one point quit returning our calls. Every single person that we had a contact for quit returning our calls, quit returning our emails. The main office there had, it was a phone system, and there was nobody who answered the phone. You could either leave a voicemail or you could get in, if you knew the code to people's names, to their office, you could get to it. So that was kind of a dead end at that point. One thing I did figure out throughout this process is I figured out that the individual emails, was first dot, last dot, or first name dot, last name at Ambridge.com. Remember exactly what it was. So I can, if I got somebody's name, I knew I could figure out what their email address was. I also figured out that how you would reach somebody's desk is you would, the code to their desk was the alphanumeric numbers of the first 3 letters of their last name. So I figured that out. Then I had to figure out who I could get through to get on that, and I can't remember exactly who. I think what I did was I Googled accounts payable Ambridge, and I ended up finding a person's name on LinkedIn. And so I ended up also getting in there, and once I got in, I could go next person, just toggle the next person, just go to different voicemails, different emails, and I could get their names. And so I'd get people's names, and I would start to Google these names. And I finally got somebody to answer me. This was like detective work. And what I did was I emailed the person, and then I kept CCing. I kept adding people to these emails, and finally we got a $17,000 check. It took like 3 months to get it, maybe 4 months to get it. It felt like 6. And I mean, that, it took a lot of money. I had the whole damn company out there on overtime. We also get performance bonuses. Okay, when these guys, it's not just about money, but you got to motivate them to work. You got to give them goals. We all get bonuses. They weren't upselling anyway. Well, yeah, you kind of upsell it, but everything's based on a flat rate schedule. You're not cheating. So I gotta pay that shit. I had to pay bonuses. Fucking shit ton of money. And these people just nothing. So we finally got it. But that's the kind of stuff that we run into. It's not easy. If we have if we don't get paid $17,000 on this job, and we get 2 or 3, well, how do I come up with that money? If I don't have enough profits from other jobs, or it's been slow, or whatever, how do I come up with that money? How do I pay the material bills if I don't have enough profit? Or when do you spend your profit? When do you get to have profit? When do you get to keep this? How do you gauge how much money to hold back? Well, sometimes you got to borrow money to cover it. And commercial money cost is very expensive, like between 6 and 48%, depending on what type of money that you get. So this is the kind of stuff that we have to do. Anyways, I'm going to sign off here. I'm getting close to a job.